Hey, Raindrops. So today I'm with somebody who I do consider a friend. In this reality TV genre, I'm cool with a lot of people. I love everybody. Everybody loves me like they do Raymond, honey. But there's only a select few who I consider my friend. And friend means we talk on the regular about everything outside of this profession of reality TV. They know personal things about them. I know personal things about them. They know personal things about me, all those things, right? And it's someone who is there for you at your time of need. So I have a select few of women who I give that title to because in my Ashley Silver Boys on Love and Marriage DC, I don't use the word friends loosely, but this beautiful woman I met years ago, courtesy of Nene Leakes. She was a bridemaid. Yes, because the S is silent. We met when she was a bridemaid on I Dream of Nene. And ever since then, we hit it off and we've been thick as thieves. I am talking about my girl, Jennifer Williams.
Hey! Hi, darling. Oh my God, that was such an amazing introduction. But everything you said was true, except for one thing. We actually met, the first time we met was at the BET Awards when Nene and I came together. That's when we met.
You have such a good memory. You are right. How can I forget about that?
Yes. Oh my God,
Yes.
that was like, I don't even know. When was that? 2010?
It had to be. It had to be. And because I'm such a fan of basketball wives, and I've always been, I told Jen this story. So, me and my gays, back when I was living in New York City. So, I feel like the new gays, they like to call themselves like the housewives, right? Or, women from other reality shows. But back in my day, me and my gays in New York City would call ourselves the basketball wives, right? So each one of my gay friends, including myself, we were a character, or in this case, a real life person from Basketball Wives. So one of my friends was Jennifer. Another one of my friends was Evelyn. Another one of my
That
friends
is
was Susie,
funny.
because he was messy. And I never told you this, Jen, but they used to call me Shaunie.
You know what? Well, that makes sense. That definitely
They
makes
would
sense.
say, Carlos, you are Shaunie. And I was like, why? They said, you're in charge of the girls. You're Shaunie. I'm like, okay,
and
fine.
low-key messy.
High key messy. So you're right about that. So look, if the shoe fits, bitch, I'm gonna wear it. So there we go. So I brought that up to say my friend named Pierre, he was Jennifer, and we would have lunch at cafeteria in New York City.
I love cafeteria.
And okay, and we would have scenes. We would
Oh
mimic
my
scenes.
God.
So my friend used to mock you. He would be like, like,
Oh my goodness. I am dying. Oh gosh.
So when I met Jennifer D. Williams at the BET Awards, guys, I was like fangirling inside because at the
No.
end of the day, I don't care how big I get in this genre, I will always be a fan and a viewer. And I was screaming inside when I first met you, Jennifer.
Oh, that's so sweet. I remember that day and we had a conversation about one of my producers. I'm not going to even be messy and get into it, but I remember that day like it was yesterday. And I was a fan of yours. I mean, you're a big deal.
Thank you, baby. Thank you. So we became close friends and we're still friends to this day. So let's talk about you and what you're going through now. So we saw this new transformation into this season where Shaunie was gone, Tami was gone, Evelyn was gone, and then you were the last standing OG from the first season of Basketball Wives. Going into this past season, did you feel any pressure to live up to the standards of Basketball Wives because those force multipliers that I just named were no longer on the show? And did you feel the pressure as an OG to keep it moving?
Absolutely. I think when you are OG, and listen, I started the Basketball Wives franchise, and so I was the last OG. You know, Jackie and Malaysia, they started the LA franchise, but, you know, Miami came first. I honestly didn't know what to expect because you're coming into this season, like you said, I am used to having certain people there. Now, granted, we've had people leave and they've brought like other people in, but these girls had been on the show and they had been on the LA show, which I was not a part of. So I didn't know any of the girls and I didn't know really their storylines in the past and what they could bring to the table. But I knew it was going to be, everybody's going to be looking like, okay, what's this about? And it takes time for the audience to get used to seeing faces that they're not familiar with. So, of course, I felt like, okay, we got to make this good because one, it's season 10. People are going to be talking because everybody left. So I definitely felt a certain amount of pressure. And my thing is, I'm very, whatever I'm going through in real life, that's what you're going to see. Like, I don't play some character. I'm pretty much the same way. And I think you can attest to this. I'm the same person on and off the screen. And I'm not really dramatic. I'm not going to be like the loudest person in the room. But, you know, when you have 3 OGs, they're looking at you like, okay, what are we bringing to the table here? So I definitely felt that pressure.
Yeah, no, and it's interesting because on this podcast, I would recap Basketball Wives, and I'm a huge fan of the franchise, and I even said that something's missing because one thing I said about you, Jen, I said, I know Jen on a personal level. Jen understands the assignment. I said, Jen isn't the most dramatic person in the room. She's not like this big lead. Jen knows her position when it comes to an ensemble cast. And the reason why Jen has been on for so long is because Jen is sort of like this personality to where if you pass her the ball, she's going to Scottie Pippen her and know how to keep it moving. But she needs somebody on her left, on her right, who's able to move things forward. And this season, I felt I think the beginning of this season was weird, and I wasn't that interested in it because I'm like, something's missing. So you're right in terms of people had to get their groove going. And then towards the middle to end, I'm like, oh, bitch, it was getting good. So knowing that, do you feel like when you were filming, did you also feel the missing element of a Shaunie, Tami, and Evelyn, like I did?
I honestly, I didn't feel that because I did feel that the girls that we have now, they have great personal stories. And I myself was interested in their stories. So I felt like, okay, I don't know what the viewers are going to think because one, you know, like I said, you have to get used to people. And I don't think like in the beginning, when you kind of throw people in your face, you're like, wait, who is this? So I think it took a minute for the audience to just kind of warm up to the people that they weren't familiar seeing. But I will say, I felt like the girls, they were they knew what they had to do. Because my thing is this, I'm like, look, I've been on this show for a really long time and I don't want to have to do all the hard work. So, you know, but I did feel like they had great story and I felt like they brought what they were supposed to bring.
Yeah, no, I think they did eventually. But me being real, the thing about Basketball Wives is the friendships.
Yeah.
The last long, I mean, the long lasting friendships that you ladies had for so
Yes,
long. So I'm missing you and Evelyn together. Even when you guys had that rough patch in your friendship, I stopped watching after that incident, Jen, where Evelyn came across the table
that was
like
rough.
she was on Planet of the Apes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very weird and very strange. And I stopped watching 'cause I felt like we liked the show because of the camaraderie, the friendships.
Absolutely.
But we did get a chance to see you two reconcile, and I was happy to see that. What is your relationship now like with Evelyn?
So what people didn't see is, I guess it was season 9 when we did the mansion shoots, which was a nightmare. Um, I didn't really, I saw her one time when we were filming because she was in a different house. And so when that whole thing was over, she actually called me and we had a conversation. We talked and she was like, listen, like, let's just move forward. And, like, we're not getting any younger. So we actually are in a great place. We're not best friends. We don't talk every day, but we check in and it's good. I'm always going to love her. And, I do think the fans probably do miss her. And I know it was always like this Jennifer Evelyn dynamic, which is it, but it was real, like we weren't cast to be on the show. We were actually real friends before Basketball Wives was even thought of. So, I mean, that right there is kind of priceless. And when you see that on TV, you can't make it up. It's not a forced friendship. It's something, the girl was in my wedding when I started dating my ex-husband, that's when we became friends. So I think that is priceless because some relationships on TV, you feel like it's a little forced because you have to be around these girls. But that was something that was very real. And everything that happened that you guys saw, it was real life.
When you look back on that moment, is it hard for you to watch that scene where she ran across the table and talk to us about what you were feeling in that moment? Because social media wasn't big back then, so it's not like you could tweet your feelings after watching the episode. And you and I weren't friends at that time, but I watched it and it was like, this is low key bullying and it's nasty and this is not what we signed up for. Can you explain to us that during that moment, as you look at this woman who was in your wedding, trying to physically attack you, not once but twice, how did you feel going through that moment, knowing that this was happening to you by somebody who you did consider a sister?
I mean, that moment was just so crazy because my first instinct is never to fight somebody. So when the girl was coming around the table, I think it was Tami or somebody, and she was like, Jennifer, get up. And I was kind of like so confused as to what was even happening because I'm not really a fighter in real life. So, I had this situation with her where I got slapped, and then I don't even know how Evelyn even got involved because everything was happening so fast. And, when she got up, and I think she threw some flowers at first. I can't remember. The flowers got thrown. Like it was a big like arrangement of flowers. And so that got thrown. And then it was like the run across and I was kind of just in a twilight zone, like what the hell is happening? And I couldn't even believe that our friendship had got to that point where she would want to physically harm me because I'm like, this is somebody, I loved. And I understand people, fall out and have disagreements. But for me, when I'm friends with someone, I don't put my hands on them or try and cause them physical harm. I have that kind of discipline and it's something that I would never want to do. So It was hard. I mean, I haven't obviously seen that scene in a really long time. And, thinking about it, I never really knew what I thought in that moment because I was so confused as to what was happening. And it was happening all so fast.
Did you ever have a conversation with the producers and the network after that moment about your safety and whether or not you wanted to continue filming on that show?
I'm trying to remember the chain of events. I know I definitely filed a police report. Um, I'm pretty sure I had a conversation. Sean Rankin was our producer at the time. And I think, well, first I called my attorney because I stay lawyered up. And he was like, go make a police
You
report.
got that thing on
Yes,
retainer, girl.
you have to. So I'm pretty sure I had a conversation. I'm trying to think what happened next after that. I think I want to say we were going to Tahiti after that. And so here's the thing. When some shit like that goes down, I have my attorneys deal with it because I'm like, look, I it's out of my league. And so I know my attorneys got involved and it was the whole thing of like, okay, is she gonna go to Tahiti? And I was like, listen, like if that girl is gonna be there, Naya, I was like, I'm not going. And so I think it was like last minute I was on the plane with Kenya and I found out she was actually in Tahiti. And so it was like a whole thing with my lawyers. They had to put me at a whole separate hotel. I can't remember all the specifics, but I definitely had my attorneys get involved because, when you're talking about my physical safety, that's a huge deal. And I'm like, I'm at work and I shouldn't have to feel threatened or be looking over my shoulder because I'm coming to do my job.
And what was crazy about that whole situation to me was the fact that that's just not who you are. And I always felt that you were somebody that they picked on because you're not a fighter. And I don't think there's anything wrong with saying you're not a fighter. I'm not a fighter. Like if you have to, you will, but it's not my
No.
first line of defense is to like physically attack somebody. And as a fan and a viewer of Basketball Wives, from Evelyn to Malaysia, I did always feel that they would pick on you. And we, meaning the audience, listen, people can say if they want about you, oh, Jen's messy, Jen's that, whatever. That's all debatable. But it's more so about why pick on somebody who you know that's not their personality. And I think that's why a lot of people are turned on Evelyn and turned on Malaysia, because it was sort of like, it's one thing to like read somebody and attack them with your
Right.
words. But even when Malaysia picked up a
Ooh,
table, you guys were in Amsterdam, right?
yes, we're in Amsterdam. I was there
So
for literally 24 hours. I was like, I'm out of here. Like, come on, bitches, you throwing whole tables? Like, who does that? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's why I had said in my interview, you a linebacker, LaQuisha. Who does that? Like, what? I could not, honestly, in that moment. Okay, so this moment I remember because it wasn't so long ago. In that moment, I literally, I had zero fear. And I was thinking to myself, how am I going to throw this over the bridge? That was literally what was in my mind. Because if you look at it, I literally don't move. But what happened was the security guard was there and he had his arm up and his arm got all bloody. I believe he had to get stitches. I don't remember exactly. But yes, and I was just standing there like, okay, well, you're going to have to fight this.
no, the reason why I'm like quiet and low key gagging and laughing simultaneously is because I do remember that moment. You were wearing Fendi. Because, girl, you're always dripped up in the fashion style. You were wearing Fendi, and you did have this look on your face. And I do remember that moment you're talking about. I had no idea in your mind you was like, how if I'm going to pick up LaQuisha and throw her over the Amsterdam Bridge so that she could be in the dam of the water, honey?
Yes.
Is that when you realized that this show has gone a new low?
Okay, so for me, I was just like, wow, that's really crazy. And so the other thing that really blew me was there was one producer that I was cool with, right? And he unfortunately has passed away. He was the only one that came to my room because I was staying at a whole separate hotel from the other girls and checked on me. None of the producers called me. The network didn't call me. Nobody asked how I was doing. I was like floored that something of that magnitude. Like, why wouldn't you reach out?
What's crazy is that's not the first time I heard that in terms of a big moment happening and nobody reaching out. Tami was on this podcast recently, and excuse me. Tami was on this podcast recently, and she mentioned how there were incidents that happened. For example, her mushing Mika Claxton and all these crazy things. And she also mentioned how it did appear that the powers that be did not intervene and check on people and have conversations. Do you think that sent a message to the cast that this behavior is okay?
I mean, I don't know if they condone the behavior. Like, listen, I understand like bad behavior and drama sells. Um, I don't know. I just felt like I don't know if they were unaware. And I don't want to, make excuses for them. I have no idea because it just is like the human and the courteous thing to do. So for me, it should be second nature. Now, I have to say, we have switched production companies, and Truly Entertainment is the production company, and it is a completely different feel. I can, I love Lauren. I can pick up the phone. I can call the executives in the office. I can text them. They check on me. So it's very different. And so the executives at Shed, I didn't really know who they were. They would come in, during the reunion, and you would kind of like see them, but I never had a personal relationship with any of them.
Wow, that's so interesting. So let me break this down for my listeners. So every show you guys are watching, a production company is producing it for the network. So for example, my company is called Kingdom Reign Entertainment. I produce shows for OWN, BT, etc., right? But I, as you guys know, who follow me, I interact with my cast. My cast, they know me, I know them, we talk. Shed Media is a production company that used to produce Basketball Wives. So oftentimes production companies are people who you have connections with. And Truly Original is a production company who's currently producing Basketball Wives, and they do Atlanta Housewives, Potomac, Dubai, and Lauren Escalin, who is one of my loves, and she's super amazing. She is one of the executives at Truly, and that's what I'm used to because when I started Atlanta Housewives, Lauren Escalin was there, and I learned from her in terms of how you gotta have a relationship with your cast in order for them to feel comfortable. So that's really interesting to hear you say that. So when we look at the show now, and Tami has made it very clear in her last interview with me where she said, Carlos, after this interview, I'm done talking about Basketball Wives, so I'm gonna give you everything. And girl, she did. But with that being said, do you miss having Tami on the show?
I actually do miss having Tami on the show. Tami, she's a lot. But I have to say, I don't know. I think I just miss some of the people because it just it's a good dynamic. And granted, with Tami, Lord knows you didn't know what she was gonna pull out the bag, but I mean, it was never a dull moment with her. And I mean, I guess to a certain extent, I miss something about everybody that has been on the show. But I have to say, Tammy and I, we're not like in the best place, but I'm happy for her and her show that she has. So, I wish her continued success.
No, she's doing well. And let's talk about Shaunie. So Shaunie has opted not to film. Obviously, she is now married to a pastor. Were you invited to the
No,
wedding?
I was not.
Shocker.
I don't have an issue with her, but we don't, we will text, talk if something is going on, and we did say, we would catch up at some point, but we don't talk like that. So, I wasn't expecting to go to her wedding. And even if she did invite me, it was like Memorial Day weekend. I had plans. It's true.
We know jet setter. So, one of the critiques that people had about Shaunie was the fact that y'all had an executive producer who was also a cast member of the show. And Tami even said things that sometimes Shaunie allegedly would show her scenes to get her hyped up to go into a scene on 100. As you were filming the earlier seasons and even this most recent season, did you feel that it was hard for you women to be fair, knowing that across the table from y'all is an EP who doesn't mind saying thank you for your services?
No, for sure. I mean, you have an executive producer who is also a cast member. It's such a rare thing. It really doesn't happen. And so you have somebody that's like on production calls and talking to the network and that can sway stories. And so, and has editing control. So that is a very difficult thing because, you're like, well, so I think the thank you for your services was LA. So that was kind of like after, Miami had taken off. But, you never want to be in that position, one, because it's just embarrassing for somebody to say that to you on TV. Now, granted, Brandy did come back that next season, but it's still a very intimidating position to be in.
Now, you were on a show I created called The Next 15. That was on TV One with Tiffany Pollard, Karamo, Bazzino, Laura Gavon, and Claudia Jordan. You and Laura Gavon had such a great rapport, and it was so fun for you guys to be around
Laura.
each other because y'all both come from Basketball Wives. I think Laura is super fun. She's amazing, and she's equally a fashionista like you are, my love. Why haven't we seen Laura on Basketball Wives?
Oh boy. So I'm not really sure. I know there was talks about her coming back several seasons. And then the talks would just go away. And so, Laura would call me like, hey, are you guys filming? And I would be like, yeah, we're about to start. So I don't know. At one point I heard she was signing a contract and she was coming to film. And then I didn't hear about it anymore. So I know that I think Laura and Shaunie have a situation. I'm not sure if they're cool now or if that has anything to do with it. I really don't know, to be honest with you. But I know they did have something.
Is the situation Laura and Shaunie have is the fact that Laura allegedly slept with Shaq?
Ooh, now there's a lot of those allegations running around. I don't know. I mean, that's what the streets say. I'm not sure. I mean, but listen, at this point, Shaunie is married to somebody else. So I don't really think she should hold on to that because, listen, he probably slept with a lot of people. So
Yeah.
I'm like,
And Laura is good TV.
Laura is. Laura is great. I mean, I thought we had a good time on the next 15. Laura knows the assignment.
Absolutely, and I can attest to that and vouch for it. So if y'all are listening, we need Laura Gavon back on Basketball Wives. So before I move on to other stuff we got to talk about, I want to give you my recap of
Hey,
Basketball
please.
Wives. So yes, so like I said, I thought it started off slow. I'm like, where are we going to get the good stuff? And then in the middle of the season, I'm like, okay, it's getting good. Obviously, Jackie Christie is also an OG on the LA edition of the show, but now they merged Miami and LA and made it one. I have a crush on Brooke Bailey. I think she's so
She's
pretty. I have a crush on Brooke. I just want to like eat her up. No pun intended. I just think she's so beautiful, and I like the fact that we're seeing more of her. And I was into the Malaysia and Brandy reconciliation of their friendship, but then I felt like they spent too much time on it, and I'm like, girl, move on. So I do think based on where this season has ended, it was nice to see the camaraderie back, because at the end of the day, yes, the fans like drama, but they only like drama when it comes from a real place of
Yes.
real friendships. And I do think the show is going to get back to that. But when it comes to Nia and her sister Nori or
Gloria,
something,
yes.
are we going to see them again, or were they kindly shown the door after they threw some stuff at
So,
Brandy?
okay. Vegas was crazy. Let me just say that. Um, and again, when these moments happen, it's so quick, right? So if you miss one thing, you're like, what the hell? So that was kind of how I felt. Um, they got into the thing with Brandy and Brooke. I don't know who threw what, whatever. And I'm standing right there. Okay. All I know is I'm like, how the hell did I get some shit on me? Um, it got bad because one, they threw the bottle and it hit Brandy in the head, the back of the head, right? And we're in a house that is literally all glass, right? And the realtor was on her way to do a scene. And there's like fucking shit all over the place. So they're like trying to hurry up and clean it. So they threw the bottle, one that hit Brandy. And then one of the girls, I'm not sure which one it was, they took a wine glass, broke the wine glass, and made a shank. Yes. No, it was
Jen!
Lauren. Lauren was there at the scene. Lauren was like, "Shut it down, shut it down." It was so. You didn't see all of this, but yeah. So it was bad. So they had to like get them out of there.
Wait, not to cut you off, Jen. I got to process this. So you're saying that Nia and her sister, one of them broke a glass and made into a shank, like we're in 60 days in.
Like Orange is the New Black. Yes, yes. Now I didn't see any of this because at this point, but this is what I was being told, and I'm like, wait, what? Like this sounds so crazy. So I think after. And Lauren was kind of asking, like, so what happened? And this and that. I'm like, girl, I don't, you was watching the monitor. I don't know. So basically, I think what happened was the network reviewed the footage and you're not supposed to be fighting. And so basically, you didn't see them after that, right?
No.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Thank you for your services.
Because, I was having an event and I was like, oh, should I invite the sisters? And they're like, the network, yeah. Like it was,
Whew, Lord Jesus.
yeah.
Let's get into your love life. And without giving too much away, because me and Jen recently had dinner a few months ago, and the show wasn't airing yet, I don't think. And Jen was telling me, like, you gotta watch the show, because I don't like to be told things. I'm a fan, I'm a viewer, so don't spoil things for me. But Jen was teasing me, like, I met a guy, Carlos, he's on the show. I like him. I think you will too. Just watch it. So I watched it, and I think he's so sweet. And he just seems like a good guy. Are you two still together?
So, okay. He is an awesome guy. He has an amazing family. And he's a good person. And I have to say this too, Carlos. So here's the thing. You have met a lot of my guys on and off camera. Like, it's so crazy when I think about it. I'm like, damn, like Carlos has known the majority of my boyfriends. Like, this is crazy. It's so crazy.
I really have. And we'll get to one in a second, but I have literally met almost all of Jen's boyfriends.
No,
all of them. And
no, I was going to say
go
it's
ahead.
so crazy.
So, but I haven't met this one yet. I don't want to get you in trouble, so don't spoil what's going to happen. But what can we expect from the second part of this season?
I don't know how they're going to edit it, but there was like a lot of things that were happening. There's a lot of things that it's because I want to tell you so bad.
I know.
Yeah, there's definitely some friendships that are fractured, possibly broken. Somebody exits. There's a lot of things happening.
See, guys, I am able to get a lot of information if I wanted to, but because I love my listeners so much, I like to be on the journey with them. Because let's be clear, I can easily cut this interview and ask Jen all the questions and she'll give me the answers. But because I'm loyal to my raindrops, we have to watch TV at the same time. So, guys, don't worry. I'm not going to spoil it for y'all. I'm not going to ask Jen anything. We are going to watch it as a family when the new season comes back.
No, the second part, I think, is better than the first. Way better. And, I was nervous, and I actually called you, and I was like, hey, we have this female executive producer, which has never happened in the history of Basketball Wives. We've always had a male producer. And so I was nervous. I'm like, I don't know, because, dealing with a woman, she gonna have her period. I was like, I know I'm gonna have to cuss this bitch out at some point. Like, I was nervous. But I have to say, she turned out to be awesome because she understood female relationships. So I think you see a different dynamic in part B of the season.
Yes, you did call me, and I said to you, I haven't worked with her, but I've been trying to get her one of my shows, but she's always booked and busy. And I said to Jen, oh, she's dope. She can really do a good job. Trust her. And it's also something that people ask me all the time, like, Carlos, do you think these female ensemble shows can only work with a man or a gay man producing these women? Even recently, Giselle Bryant from Potomac asked me that question. And I said to her, a woman can produce a female ensemble show. It just takes them to get over the barrier of the female cast member thinking like, what? And I said, once she breaks through that, as long as she's talented, she can. So I'm happy to hear that this woman did a great job because like I said, I want to work with her so badly, but she's always booked. And if she did such a good job, like you're saying, then fuck, I'm not going to be able to have her because they're
Yeah,
going to
no,
snatch her up.
she
But that's a good
she
problem to
definitely,
have.
she was amazing. And like I said, I went into it having some reservations just because she was a woman and we had never had a female executive producer. And so I was like, oh God, like what the hell? This is about to be, because females they just have a different energy. But honestly, her energy was great, and I have nothing bad to say about her at all.
Good, 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 good. You may have something bad to say about this
Oh,
next subject. So earlier we talked about the fact that I have met some of your boyfriends, and one of your exes that I did meet and have dinner with at Mr. Child was
oh,
Tim
not the
Norman,
murderer,
who
honey.
we all know. Oh Lord Jesus, Lord. Jen, myself, and Tim Norman had dinner years ago at Mr. Child in Beverly Hills because any guy that Jen dates, I have to meet them because she's like, Carlos, you have discernment, and I need to know this is a good person, and if not, let me know. But if he is there some business that we all can do to get, like me and Jen always
Yes,
about that
the
bag and
coins,
business
honey.
style. So the coins, honey. So I'm going to be very honest. When I met Tim, I thought he was nice. He seemed very sweet. He was somebody who was definitely into you. He's from St. Louis, so he had that Midwestern sensibility. Guys, he pulled out her chair. He made sure she ordered first. He spoiled her right before my brown eyes, and I was like, damn, bitch, you got a good one. But then,
Honey.
months later, I want to say, it was in the news that he was stalking you. It was a very bad breakup. Then we heard that he supposedly put a bid on his nephew to get murdered, and now he's in jail. Did all of this surprise you, Jen, when you learned that this man who you were once in love with is in jail for putting a plot to murder somebody?
So I I saw a side of him that was crazy. Hence, all like this court stuff. I never in a million years would have thought he would put a hit out on his nephew. Now, I had gone to St. Louis. He had walked me down the street where the nephew was killed, and his father got murdered like on the next street over or something like that, like years prior. And so he's like walking me down the street, telling me the story and this and that. And so when everything comes out, I'm like, wait a minute. This is crazy as hell, because I remember him taking me to this street where the nephew got murdered. So I tell people this. I definitely saw a crazy side of him, with him like stalking me, and he was very jealous. I I don't know if I ever told you this story, but one time we were in Pink Taco in LA, and we were like sitting, it was kind of like a booth, right? And so he was sitting next to me, like he was here and I was here. But it was one of those booths that like extended, and then there was like another table, right? And so then there was like a TV to my right. And so I'm looking at the TV, and there were some guys at the table next to us. And I don't know, I guess the guy was looking, I have no idea. So he goes ape shit crazy in Pink Taco. So the guy says something, and he's like, why do you keep looking, or something along those lines? And the guy's like, oh no, you guys look familiar or whatever. Next thing I know, he takes his forearm and literally like goes like this, and all the dishes, the glass, everything, like basically is about to flip the table. And he's like, I told you to stop looking over here, something, something, something. And I was like, what the heck? I was mortified. I could not, but first of all, we're out in a public restaurant and it just wasn't warranted. I'm like, what the hell? What did I miss? So we get in the car. I'm super nervous. I'm like, what the hell? And so he's like, it's all your fault. You kept looking at him. And I was just like, what? So now I'm on my phone and I'm texting Mary, my best friend. I'm like, girl, I'm scared. Like, this is so crazy. You don't even know what happened to us in Pink Taco. She's like, do you want me to come over? And I was like, I don't know. I was like, I don't want to agitate it anymore. But I was really scared. I really was. And so he stayed in my house. And the next day he left and he went to the gym and he started sending me all of these screenshots and articles about I could not believe it, about body language. And he said I had my legs crossed towards the men. And I was like, what the hell? I'm like, my legs are long as hell. I don't know which way they were crossed. And if they were crossed that way, it wasn't because I'm trying to get his, it was all it, I swear, he sent me about 5 articles about body language and was basically saying that, I don't know, I was trying to entice the guy or something. And I was like, oh no, this dude is bad crazy.
Did he ever put his
No,
hands on you?
no, he never did. So
Okay, thank God.
when the whole thing came out about the nephew, I was really surprised. I was like, wow, this is so crazy. I couldn't believe it. And so I actually sent a message to his cousin Monique because her and I were cool. And I was just like, listen, I'm thinking about you, praying for your family. I mean, I didn't know what to say or what to do. Like, I can imagine what the family was going through at that moment, because when I heard the news, I was like, what? Like, this is so crazy. And then it was like really vindicating for me, because when I came out with my story and everything that was going on with him and I, because one, I had to go to court. People were like, oh, she's looking for attention, and they didn't believe me because he's on the own network. Honey, he fooled Oprah too. So no. Listen, he pulled a wool right over Oprah's eyes. Don't play with me.
Jennifer Williams, I can't with you, sis. But the thing about it is this: it goes to show, because I want my listeners, especially my female listeners, to know the signs of when a person may not show you how crazy he is in the beginning of y'all dating, but the fact that what I saw, which was he was very attentive, and he was, chivalrous and all these things. And now when I look back on it, it was like, was he possessive? And then the whole Pink Taco story is just insane. So this guy who was stalking you, he tried to gaslight you by saying, no, it's your fault, which most abusers do. No, it's not my fault, it's yours. He sent you articles about body language to gaslight your ass into thinking you did something wrong, to make up for his behavior, and then to learn that he put a hit out for his nephew to get murdered. And it's just the saddest thing in the world. But I'm so happy to obviously know that you got out of that situation the moment you did see the signs, because it's not worth it, ladies, to stay in a situation, no matter how much he spoils you, spends money on you. Your safety, your health, and your life is way more important.
No,
than that.
and so, when him and I first met, because people always like, well, how were you guys together? So I have to kind of tell this story. So when we first met, a friend of mine actually knew one of his friends. And he was like telling her like, oh, I want to meet her or whatever. And this was, I think we met in April. So, my mom had passed away at the end of December. And that was obviously a very difficult time for me, which, because, we were filming the next 15. And so I literally was like not leaving the house. And so, um, one of my very good friends who I call my sister from New York, she's a few years older than me. She actually moved into my house because she was like, I'm going to cook for you. I'm going to check on you. I'm going to make sure you're good. I'm going to get you out the house. Like, I literally, I started drinking a lot because that was the only thing that was kind of like taking the pain away a little bit. And then I had to like do a whole detox because I saw myself going down a bad path. And so I wasn't leaving the house. And so fast forward to like a couple months later, I'm like, okay, let me try and like get back to some type of normalcy in my life. And when I met him, I was looking for some form of companionship because I was missing that with my mother. And so I was just grasping at straws for to try and just be around somebody to feel comfortable and loved. And I understand now looking back on it what I was doing, but in that moment I did not know because I was just so grief stricken. And so when he came around and he was always there for me. And like you said, he was a gentleman and, he communicated with me well. And that was something that I was looking for. We spent a lot of time together. We did things. So it kept my mind off of what I was actually going through. And so that's kind of how we became a couple.
Well, I'm glad you were able to get out of that
Me too.
situation. And obviously, you were in another situation where a guy stole your Range Rover,
Ciao.
did some crazy things. Another guy I met at church.
It's
This
so
is this was
crazy.
crazy.
This dude came
Um,
to church with me.
in his red
That was mine,
Lamborghini.
the Ferrari.
Oh yeah, I forgot. Yes, check
Yes, that
me.
was my Ferrari.
So, what is the latest with you and this project you're doing called Scam Likely, where you partner with your homegirl, Angela Yee, who you went to school with? Y'all been friends forever. Can we see it? Is it going to come out soon? What can you tell us about this movie, or should I say documentary called Scam Likely, which is about obviously your story of this guy who was allegedly scamming women and men allegedly out of
So
money.
I have to say, I am super excited about this project, Scam Likely. As you know, I have been working on it for almost 2 years, and it's a passion project of mine. And when this whole situation happened to me with my Range Rover getting stolen, and I went public with my story, the amount of people that reached out to me about this one man was astronomical. I cannot believe it. My DMs were flooded with women, men, gay men, his family. And I just couldn't even keep track of all the stories and what people were telling me. And so I'm thinking, like, okay, I had somebody reach out to me from 2004 that he has scammed in Vegas. And I'm saying to myself, how the hell has he been able to get away with this for almost 2 decades? Like, this is crazy to me. And the stories that people were telling me, they were so compelling, they were so heartbreaking. And I said, I have to do something with this. And I want people to know who he is and what he does, because if I can help one person and save their bank accounts or their livelihood, then that is my responsibility to do this because I have the platform to do it. And so I was so ahead of this whole scam culture that we are now seeing play out on TV, from Inventing Anna to Bad Vegan to Tender Swindler. I was ahead of this curve. So every time a show would come out, I would be like, God damn, I gotta get Scam Likely on the air. This is so crazy. So my show finally got greenlit. I partnered with Half Yards, It's going to be on VH1. I don't have an air date yet, but we are filming it. And I am super excited about this story. I can't wait for everybody to hear it. I can't wait for people to hear the other victims and what he has done to people and how he has affected people's lives. It is going to be an awesome, awesome project. I have an amazing executive producer, Kim Osorio. She understands the assignment. She gets it. She's
She's dope.
passionate about telling this story. She's going to be in post. I am so excited about this. And you have to stay tuned because Scam Likely became a major storyline in Basketball Wives, the second part of the season.
Yeah, I'm so happy for you because it goes to show you that you can go through a lot as a woman and even a man, but you can go through a lot in your situation, Jen, but always come out of it unscathed and come out of it building the brand that you have. So
Thank
I'm so proud of
you.
you. I thank you so much for joining this podcast.